Okay, Omar, I'm going to go through this. Here we go. So there's a few things I'm seeing right off. I think you're riding pretty low on the mass through this whole thing. So that's going to make it difficult, I think, through because you're just not clearing the water much. The other thing I think is this really kind of looks like this classic windsurfing stance where you're kind of leaning back towards the back of the board and holding on like with a super grip on the boom there. But I think looking at the feet and the arms, so the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the feet. So you're in that foot strap. And the other thing I'll say is like your weight, you're pushing your weight back quite a bit. So look how you're kind of popping a wheelie. If you got your weight forward, the nose would ride flatter against the water. But right now you've got your weight on your back foot and you're kind of popping a wheelie here. Okay, now let's look at your feet going into the turn. So you kind of right now you flattened it out. So you're riding kind of flat, but I can tell you're overpowered because you've got that wing pretty much parallel with the water. So you probably could go with a smaller wing and have it more vertical instead of horizontal. But okay, either way, here we go. Going into the turn, you got your foot in that foot strap. So one of the things I think we'll look at your heel on your front foot strap foot as we go through the turn. So we're going to look at the turn first with your feet. So we're going into the turn. So you right there, you can see even when you get a weight shift, that rail, that windward rail, I'll just say the heel side of your front foot all of a sudden steered forward. Now you counter it with your back foot and you bring it in. And then you lean back there a little bit. Again, I'd say try to keep your weight forward. Right there, your hips bend right there. You lean back. Now you've got weight on your back foot. So you're starting to pop a wheelie there. Coming up, as we go into the turn, bending knees was good. This kind of gets you back into that's probably the best looking right in here. That's getting to be about the best looking position. So you hold on to the wing, I think, just a little bit too long. You probably could have let go right there before you get too far over it into the turn. And when I'd say when you let go, actually I'm going to talk about your hands too. Let's forget about your feet for a second. Go into the turn, let go. And so when you let go, right now you kind of got a death grip on it with your forward hand. What I'd do is just kind of let that thing pivot and then pull it up over your head and let your wrist pivot. So as we go through this, you've kind of you're holding it like in one position instead of letting your wrist rotate. So the idea is you want that wing to rotate along with you. So let's not pay attention to the board. Let's watch those hands. So you reach over for the other hand and you grab it. But the instant you grab it, you grab the back hand. So right here, you've pulled the wing in and you're going to start to kind of clamp things off. So that's already a bad thing. So what we're going to do is we get into this point, keep the wing over your head. Do not grab it. You can do the twist, but don't pull in because as soon as you pull in, you pull the wing down. That's not good. So you want the wing to float overhead. So you come through the turn. I'm just keep walking through this as we're going through. So you've pulled it in, so that's already not going to work out well. And then look at your forward foot. And then right in here, you're going to notice that you're sheeting in with this, and then your weight starts to go towards your heel on your front foot right there. And then it starts to turn downwind on the heel. You're trying to bend forward to get your weight forward. You successfully get weight onto your toes and you bring it around. But even at this point, if you're able to sail it, look at your body in position to the wing. You almost want to be able to rotate your body with the back hand, with that boom basically in line with the wing. Right now you're like 90 degrees off. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you rotate your upper body in the position that we're looking, being able to rotate your upper body about almost 90 degrees counterclockwise so that your backhand would be over the top of the board. There's no way you're going to be able to get into that position with your foot in that foot strap. So as we see what happens here, it kind of zooms in at, but you end up getting weight on your back foot and you go over and in. So let's watch the board again through this turn. So let's just focus on the board itself. It's going up, going into the turn. There's a little slight heel pressure and it went upwind. Then we get into a carve and we start to carve looking good right here. Weight's a little bit too far back, but if you were able to hold that carve through the turn, and like we said in the previous one, if you just forgot about the wing, almost like at this point, if you let go of the wing and you didn't even think about it, that right there is a really, if you keep that angle, you're going to make it all the way through the turn. The only thing that you would miss out on is your front foot stuck in that strap, because you really want that front foot to be on the other side of the rail when you come out of this turn. So if you did not, I would say take the straps off. So if you didn't have the strap on, you could have your front foot in the middle of the board, and you can move your back foot more towards the middle of the board, almost like you're riding a skateboard. Imagine this were a skateboard. You wouldn't ride it with one foot way on one side and one on the other. You'd have them in line. So in this case, you'd be going through the turn, and you'd be trying to hold that arc. But what ends up happening here is you start to kind of fall off backwards when you are doing the transition. So right there, the turn is over. The arc of the turn ends. Watch the nose. It ends right about there. So the board's flattening out and you're getting weight on your heels, and it's starting to go downwind instead of carving. So let's look at the carve of the board. If we just kind of kept that carve going, imagine you're on a skateboard and you're carving around. Instead of continuing to go like you should there, you go downwind. And then you come around and you're still flat. I mean, you're basically riding the board flat, and then it turns upwind from there, and then boom, fall in. So let's go back to the wing handling. Okay, like I said, I think that you're probably overpowered here. What you could have is the wing much more vertical with the speed, and then also I'm not quite sure why you're riding so low on the foil. I don't know how long the foil is, but you're pretty close to the top. You're pretty close to the water. So going into the turn again, coming through this one, I'd let go about here and try to. If you didn't have your foot in that strap, you'd be great. If your back foot were towards the center line and your front foot were towards the center line, then you could just keep this carve through the turn, and then you totally let go. That was a pretty good time to let go. But look at this kind of death grip you have on it. What would be nice to do is to just kind of rotate your hand, the left hand that you got there. And I'm just kind of doing it in my head. If you had it over there and then you just let it pivot so that the wing is pointed, so the leading edge of the wing is pointed into the wind. So that's kind of what to follow the wind. So like right now it's basically crosswind. And then this is probably the number one problem other than the foot straps, is as soon as you switch over, you grab the wing. So that's when everything is pretty much over there. Your carve stops, everything stops. That's nice. So if you were to have let go of the wing, you could have probably carved through the turn and made it. And right now you're not going to be able to get switch into switch stance. Sorry about those messages. And then boom. So things I would do is get rid of the foot straps. See if you can ride higher on your foil. And then get your feet in line with the board. And then when you go into the turn, commit to that inside rail and carve through the turn. And as you're carving through the turn, let go like you did, but do not grab it with the back hand. Just let it go. It's okay to grab that front hand like the switch you did there, but just hold on to it like that, and then see, that's where things go wrong. Let that go and carve through the turn. Just work on carving through the turn. Even if you fall in, who cares? Just go through the turn, let go. Don't be in a big rush to grab it. It's okay to do this, switch hands, that's okay, but keep that back hand away from the boom. Don't grab the boom. Don't do that. Just keep the carve going. And, if you fall in, no big deal. That's what I would say is work, at this point, work on carving the turn and then keeping your feet on the rail the carving rail. So get rid of the foot straps and focus on carving the board.